Well, good afternoon everyone, and thank you all very much for coming. My name's Kenneth Bannerman. I'm the founder of the Airfields of Britain Conservation Trust, or as we also call it for short, ABCT. Essentially, we're the world's first national airfield charity. So we're really happy to be here today to help honour Sculthorpe Airfield. So just before I give just a quick potted history of the airfield and why this matters, may I introduce Jeremy here from the Sculthorpe Heritage Centre, who'd like to say a few words.
Yeah, I'm here on behalf of the RAF Heritage Centre at Sculthorpe, and Ian Brown, our founder. It's a great thing to see this today, and thank you to the other guys who are also here. And I'll hand over back to Kenneth to tell us about the airfield.
Okay, thanks very much Jeremy, thanks. Yeah, glad to help, of course, you know, all we can. Well, we'll just give you a quick potted history of this airfield and why this matters to every single one of us. Sculthorpe first opened in January 1943 as a bomber airfield for the Royal Air Force. And there were several bomber squadrons here, including Australian and New Zealand units. I mean, of course, with all airfields, it's naturally all about people too. Very, very important. So Sculthorpe then prematurely closed in World War II in the spring of 1944 because along with Lakenheath and Marham airfields, it was due to be turned into what was described as a very heavy bomber base for aircraft of the day predicted in the future. Therefore, Sculthorpe was massively expanded when it came to the landing area and various new buildings as well. And it became, as is not unknown, the biggest military airfield in Europe, never mind Britain. But it all took time to build. So it was from the late 1940s onwards into the 1960s, this place under United States Air Force use saw extensive use by various forms of aircraft types, but notably by reconnaissance and bomber aircraft. Now, we've carried out a lot of research, and of course, need to say Jeremy and his colleagues will have too, but you know, we can safely say that there were some rather, shall we say, very clandestine reconnaissance flights carried out from here during the 1950s. It's now all been gradually publicly revealed. But this was a really important place used by the Americans, and all the really big aircraft of the day, such as say B-45 Tornado bombers that were based here, as well as say transports and air-sea rescue aircraft. This extensive use carried on until the early 1960s. And then thereafter, Sculthorpe was officially regarded as a standby airfield. It wasn't disused, at least in a general sense. It was still active, but it wasn't just used so much. So it was notable too that over the following decades, units that came here, for example RAF squadrons, they redeployed here when, say, their main bases were undergoing major runway reconstruction. So this happened fairly frequently. Eventually, the airfield closed in the early autumn of 1992. Now, as you'll be aware, of course, the land is still being used by the military, but also, as we've discovered, not least ourselves in more recent years, sadly there's been an awful lot of demolition here. All the hangars have gone, and then, as was fairly well publicised in the early part of this year, the substantial new control tower that was built as part of the very heavy bomber base was demolished as well. So why I mention this is all part of what ABCT does. Apart from our memorials, we try and help save airfields. And therefore, just final point leading on from there, as we just say, like we did this morning at Fulsham, and then yesterday at the legendary Coltishall, just within reason, just do all you possibly can to help save, protect and honour all of Britain's airfields, whether active or here at Sculthorpe disused. Because these places help us in all sorts of ways. They're the most tremendous forces for good. But very sadly, too many of our airfields, especially our disused ones, have not been well treated. And that, of course, is including thinking about all these incredibly brave and dedicated personnel who've served here and their families. And that's why I was first here in Norfolk when I just came upon this idea as far back as 1973. It was a chance encounter with Langham Airfield when I was on holiday with, sadly now, my late parents. But even at that young age, I was only 9 years old. Now, dare I say it, nearly 59 now. Even at that young age, I just realised that not only how incredibly important our airfields such as Sculthorpe were, are and always will be, but just something really, really had to be done to help them, all the people who served there and their families. And the great news is that since ABCT formed in 2006, we are, without a shadow of a doubt, unquestionably making a real difference to the advancement and betterment of society as a whole. So again, as just have said, just do all you reasonably can to help them, because if nothing else, they're helping us. So it could be reasonably said that we should be doing a bit more to help them. That's all maybe we should really be thinking about. And therefore, again, thank you very much for your time. And both Jeremy and I are now honoured and delighted to be unveiling what is now ABCT's 202nd memorial. We've got hundreds more in the pipeline, going as fast as we can. To, in this case, yet another of Britain's absolutely irreplaceable assets, the one and only Sculthorpe Airfield. Thank you all very much.